My parents scheduled my sister's baby shower on my wedding day. So I eloped without telling anyone. You eloped without telling us? How could you be so selfish? My mother's voice shattered through the phone speaker like breaking glass. Selfish? I shot back, my hands trembling so hard I nearly dropped the phone. You scheduled Brooklyn's baby shower on my wedding day. The baby shower was more important. She's pregnant with our first grandchild. And I was getting married, but that never mattered to you, did it? You've always been jealous of your sister. This is just spite. Let me back up and explain how we got here. Hi, I'm Savannah. I grew up as the older sister to Brooklyn, and from the moment she was born when I was 4 years old, I became invisible. My parents Linda and Robert acted like the sun rose and set with Brooklyn. Everything she did was miraculous. Everything I did was expected or completely overlooked. When I brought home straight A's in middle school, they'd nod and say good job before moving on. When Brooklyn got a B+, they'd celebrate like she cured cancer. When I made varsity volleyball at Lincoln High School, they couldn't attend my games because Brooklyn had dance recitals. When I won the state science fair with my solar energy project, they were too busy planning Brooklyn's Sweet 16 to come to the awards ceremony. Savannah, you're older, Mom would say constantly like a broken record. You need to be more understanding. Brooklyn needs more attention right now. But right now lasted my entire childhood and stretched into adulthood like an endless highway with no exit ramps. I learned early that I was on my own. I got a part-time job at Starbucks when I was 15, saved every single paycheck in a shoebox under my bed. I applied to colleges completely alone, sitting at our kitchen table at midnight with application essays and no one to proofread them. My parents didn't help with applications, didn't visit campuses with me, barely blinked when I got accepted to Michigan State University with a partial scholarship. Meanwhile, Brooklyn's every tiny achievement was documented, celebrated, and plastered all over Facebook like breaking news. When she made honor roll just once in high school, they threw her a party at the Cheesecake Factory. When she got accepted to a mediocre community college, they acted like she'd gotten into Harvard. I graduated college with a degree in marketing, landed a solid job at Morrison Creative Group in Detroit, and moved into my own apartment at 22. My parents visited once in 3 years. Just once. They were always too busy with Brooklyn helping her with homework she should have been able to handle, attending her college events, supporting her through various crises that were usually just normal life things she dramatized. When I was 27, I met Jason at a professional conference downtown. He was a graphic designer at a tech startup, creative, kind, with these incredible green eyes and a laugh that made my whole body feel lighter. We started dating, and for the first time in my entire life, I felt like someone's first choice. Your family seems complicated, he said carefully after meeting them for the first time at a 4th of July barbecue. That's the world's politest way of putting it, I replied, watching my parents fawn over Brooklyn across the yard. They barely asked you 3 questions. Every conversation circled straight back to Brooklyn. Welcome to my entire life. Jason's family was the complete opposite of mine, like stepping into an alternate universe where I actually mattered. His parents, Carol and Thomas, were warm and genuinely interested from day one. They asked about my work, my thoughts on everything from politics to whether pineapple belongs on pizza. His brother Derek and his wife Monica became some of my closest friends within months. They made me feel valued in a way my own family never had, like I was someone worth knowing instead of just tolerating. After 2 years of dating, Jason proposed. It was perfect in its simplicity, a sunset picnic at Belle Isle where we'd had our first real date. Nothing elaborate or Instagram-worthy, but deeply meaningful. I cried happy tears and said yes immediately, feeling like my heart might actually explode from joy. I called my parents to share the news, my hands still shaking with excitement and adrenaline. That's nice, honey, Mom said distractedly, like I told her I'd bought new shoes. Oh, did you hear Brooklyn got promoted to assistant manager at that boutique in Royal Oak? Mom, I just got engaged. Yes, that's wonderful. When is Brooklyn coming over? We want to celebrate her promotion properly. That should have been my first massive warning sign about how wedding planning would go. Like a flashing neon sign I chose to ignore. Jason and I set a date, September 22nd, a Saturday evening ceremony followed by a reception at the Meadowbrook estate. Nothing huge, maybe 75 guests, but beautiful. We booked the venue with its gorgeous gardens and twinkling lights, hired an amazing photographer whose portfolio made me cry, and started making plans that actually excited me for once. My parents showed minimal interest in any of it. Zero enthusiasm. Whatever you want, dear, Dad said when I asked if they'd both walk me down the aisle. Just let us know the details. Can you help with the guest list? I need addresses for your side of the family. I'll get to it eventually. They never did. I had to track down addresses myself through random relatives on Facebook, feeling like I was begging for scraps of their attention once again, like always. Meanwhile, Brooklyn started dating Chad, some guy she'd met at a sports bar in Ann Arbor. They'd known each other exactly 3 months when she announced she was pregnant. My parents absolutely lost their minds with excitement. A grandbaby mom shrieked over the phone so loud I had to hold it away from my ear. "Oh my God. This is the best news ever." They immediately started planning everything: baby shower, nursery decoration, buying clothes and furniture and more stuff than one baby could possibly need. Money they'd never offered for my wedding was suddenly flowing freely for Brooklyn's pregnancy like they'd won the lottery. "We're thinking a huge baby shower," Mom announced at a family dinner at their house in Birmingham. "Maybe 100 people. We want everyone to celebrate properly." "That sounds nice," I said, trying to be supportive despite the familiar knot forming in my stomach. "When are you thinking?" "We're looking at dates in September. The baby's due in October, so we want to do it before she gets too uncomfortable." My wedding was September 22nd. I told them multiple times, sent them save the dates, written it on their refrigerator calendar in bright red marker that was impossible to miss. 2 weeks later, Mom called while I was at work, reviewing campaign materials at my desk. "We've set the baby shower date. September 22nd. We've already booked the grand pavilion and sent save the dates to everyone." My blood went cold. The room started spinning. My hand started shaking so badly I knocked over my coffee mug. "That's my wedding day." "Oh, is it? Well, we can't change it now. The venue was the only availability we could get, and we've already sent out the invitations. You'll have to move your wedding." "Move my wedding? Everything's booked and paid for. We have deposits down." "Savannah, be reasonable. Brooklyn is pregnant. She can't be on her feet for a wedding and a baby shower on different days. Her ankles are already swelling. This is the only option. The only option is for you to move the baby shower. We've already sent save the dates to 100 people. We're not changing it. You only have 75 guests. It's easier for you to move." I couldn't believe what I was hearing. My mother was actually suggesting no, demanding that I append my entire wedding because they deliberately scheduled Brooklyn's baby shower on the same day. The audacity was breathtaking. "You scheduled a baby shower on my wedding day and expect me to change my plans?" "Yes, family comes first, Savannah. Brooklyn needs this. She's going through so much right now." I hung up, just pressed the red button and ended the call, my hands trembling with rage and hurt and 27 years of accumulated pain. Jason found me crying in my car in the parking lot 20 minutes later, mascara running down my face in black streaks, my whole body shaking. "What happened?" He climbed into the passenger seat and pulled me close. I told him everything, the words tumbling out between sobs that shook my whole body. His face went from concern to absolutely furious. "They want you to move your wedding? Apparently the baby shower is more important. More important than the one day that's supposed to be about me. We've paid deposits. We have guests flying in from Seattle and Boston. This is absolutely insane." I called my parents back the next day, trying desperately to stay calm and rational, to be the bigger person one more time. "Can we please find a compromise? Maybe do the baby shower the following weekend?" "Absolutely not," Dad said firmly, his voice cold. "The date is set. You need to be flexible." "I've been flexible my entire life. This is my wedding. And Brooklyn is having our first grandchild. That takes priority. So I'm supposed to cancel my wedding or postpone it for months? Lose all our deposits? Disappoint 75 people? What's the big deal? Just pick a different date. Weddings happen all the time." The big deal was that they'd never cared about anything important to me. Not once. Not ever. This was the final confirmation that I would always come second to Brooklyn. Nothing I did would ever matter as much as anything she did. I could cure cancer and Brooklyn could sneeze, and they'd celebrate her sneeze. I talked to Jason that night after hours of crying and thinking, lying on our couch staring at the ceiling. "I have an idea, but it's extreme," I said quietly. "Tell me, what if we just eloped? Small ceremony, just us and a couple witnesses. We keep the honeymoon reservations in Cabo, have our actual wedding day, and don't tell anyone until after." He was quiet for a long moment, processing. "Your family will be furious. They chose a baby shower over my wedding. I'm done trying to get them to care about me. I've been doing it for 27 years and I'm exhausted." "Then let's do it." He squeezed my hand tight. "If they can't be bothered to show up for you, why should we wait for them?" We made plans quietly over the next few days, speaking in whispers like spies. We told Monica and my best friend Jessica, who agreed to be witnesses. We booked a small chapel in Greektown for September 17th, 5 days before the original date. We'd have a tiny ceremony, go on our honeymoon to Cabo as planned, and let everyone else figure it out. The week before our secret wedding, my parents called multiple times asking about the baby shower, if I'd be attending, what gift I was bringing for Brooklyn, could I help set up tables and chairs? I haven't decided, I said vaguely, every word feeling like pulling teeth. Well, make sure you're there. It's important to Brooklyn. She specifically asked if you'd be there. We'll see. On September 17th, Jason and I got married in the small chapel on Monroe Street with Monica and Jessica as witnesses. It was simple and absolutely perfect, everything I'd ever wanted. I wore a short ivory dress from Nordstrom, carried a small bouquet of white roses, and married the love of my life without the people who'd never appreciated me standing there pretending to care for the cameras. We went to dinner afterward at the Whitney, just the four of us, celebrating with champagne and the best filet mignon I'd ever tasted in my life. Then Jason and I left for our honeymoon in Cabo the next morning at dawn. We turned off our phones completely and spent 2 glorious weeks enjoying being newlyweds, swimming in crystal clear water, and watching sunsets from our private balcony that took my breath away every single time. September 22nd came and went while we were in Mexico. I didn't think about the baby shower or the wedding we'd canceled without telling anyone. I was in Cabo watching dolphins jump through waves and feeling happier than I'd ever been in my entire life. We got back on October 5th, tanned and relaxed and blissfully married. I turned on my phone to 347 missed calls and text messages. My voicemail was completely full. Voicemails from my parents ranged from confused to absolutely furious to almost scary. Messages from relatives demanding to know what happened. Some supportive, others accusatory. Apparently, on September 22nd, about 60 of my wedding guests had shown up at the Meadowbrook estate, dressed in their best clothes, ready to celebrate. My parents weren't there. They were at Brooklyn's baby shower at the Grand Pavilion across town, celebrating like nothing else existed. But Jason's family was there, Carol and Thomas, Monica and Derek, all dressed up and confused. My friends from work were there, my colleagues from Morrison Creative Group, distant relatives who'd driven from Cleveland and Indianapolis, a cousin who'd flown in from Phoenix. The venue staff had no ceremony to host. No bride, no groom, nothing. Just decorated tables and confused guests checking their phones. Carol and Thomas tried calling us frantically. Got no answer because our phones were off. Monica finally told everyone we'd eloped and were on our honeymoon. The guests were confused, shocked, some genuinely hurt. Some were angry about wasted travel expenses and hotel bookings they couldn't refund. But Jason's family understood why we'd done it once Monica explained the situation. The real explosion came when my parents found out through the grapevine. You eloped without telling us? Mom's voice was shrill on the voicemail, almost unrecognizable. How could you be so selfish? We're your parents. I called her back, my heart pounding but my resolve solid as steel. Selfish. You scheduled Brooklyn's baby shower on my wedding day. The baby shower was more important. She's pregnant with our first grandchild. And I was getting married, but that never mattered to you, did it? You've always been jealous of your sister. This is just spite. Pure spite. Jealous? I was screaming now, 27 years of pain pouring out like a broken dam. I spent my whole life being ignored while you worshipped Brooklyn. I'm done begging for crumbs of attention from you. I'm done being invisible. We're your parents. You owed us the chance to be at your wedding. You chose not to be at my wedding. You picked a baby shower instead. I just made it easier for you to make that choice. Mom started crying loud dramatic sobs. How can you be so cruel? We wanted to see you get married. Then you shouldn't have scheduled something else on the same day. Actions have consequences, Mom. You taught me that, remember? I hung up. Blocked their numbers immediately. Blocked Brooklyn too when she sent nasty messages about how I'd ruined her baby shower by creating drama with my disappearing act, like my wedding was some plot to hurt her. The fallout was extensive and brutal, like a nuclear bomb going off in slow motion. Extended family took sides immediately and viciously. Some understood why I'd done it, sending supportive messages that made me cry. Others thought I was petty and vindictive, calling me horrible names behind my back that got repeated to me. You should have been the bigger person, my Aunt Diane said when she called, disappointment dripping from every word. Family is family, Savannah. You don't just throw that away. I was the bigger person for 27 years. I'm done now. I'm tired. My parents tried reaching out through other relatives, cousins I barely knew, my grandmother who was too old to understand what was happening, even our old neighbor Mrs. Patterson. I refused all contact, standing firm in my decision for the first time in my life. Jason supported me completely, never once suggesting I was being too harsh or should reconsider. You gave them 1,000 chances, he said, holding me while I cried angry tears that had been building for decades. They blew every single one. That's on them, not you. Brooklyn had her baby in October. A daughter named Peyton. My parents posted hundreds of photos on Facebook and Instagram, professional newborn photos, pictures of them holding her, endless posts about being grandparents. They threw a huge welcome home party with pink balloons and a banner and a cake from the expensive bakery downtown. They documented every single moment like she was the first baby ever born in human history. I saw none of it in person. Didn't meet my niece. Didn't send a gift. Didn't acknowledge it at all. Aren't you curious about the baby? Monica asked gently one afternoon while we had coffee. She's your niece. Not really. That baby will be raised by the same people who ignored me my whole life. I don't need that relationship, and honestly, she doesn't need me. My parents tried showing up at my apartment 3 months after the wedding unannounced. I watched through the peephole as they knocked repeatedly, my heart pounding, but I didn't let them in. We need to talk about this, Dad said through the door, his voice tired. This has gone on long enough. There's nothing to talk about. You made your choice 27 years ago. We're sorry. We should have moved the baby shower. We see that now. Too late. They left eventually, their shoulders slumped in defeat. They sent a letter a week later, 3 pages of apologies and asking for another chance to be in my life. I threw it away without reading past the first paragraph, catching only phrases like didn't mean to hurt you and want to be in your life and miss our daughter. The thing is, their apology wasn't really an apology. It was we're sorry you were hurt, not we're sorry we hurt you. It was we should have handled things differently, not we were wrong to prioritize Brooklyn over you for your entire life. They still didn't get it. They probably never would. Life moved on without them, and honestly it was beautiful in ways I'd never experienced. Jason and I bought a house in Ferndale with a big backyard and a porch swing. I got promoted to creative director at Morrison Creative Group. We started talking about having kids of our own, about creating the family we both wanted. His family became my family in every way that mattered. Holidays with Carol and Thomas, who actually wanted me there and asked when we'd arrive. Game nights with Monica and Derek and their kids. Sunday dinners with Jason's extended relatives who asked about my week, and actually listened to the answers and remembered details about my life. Meanwhile, my parents' lives got complicated in ways I heard about through the family grapevine, cousins who still talked to me, aunts who fed me information whether I wanted it or not. Brooklyn had a second baby 18 months after the first, another girl named Harper. Chad couldn't handle 2 kids under 2 and the financial pressure and the reality of adult responsibility. He started spending more time at bars, less time at home, drinking away money they didn't have. They separated when Harper was 6 months old, Chad moving back in with his parents. Brooklyn moved back in with my parents, both kids in tow. Suddenly, my parents were raising 2 babies in their early 60s, exhausted and overwhelmed by the reality of diapers and 3 a.m. feedings and tantrums. Dad had been planning to retire at 65. Instead, he kept working to support Brooklyn and the girls, his back hurting, his stress levels through the roof. Mom couldn't do her part-time consulting work anymore because she was constantly babysitting, changing diapers at an age when she should have been traveling to Europe or taking up painting. We're exhausted, Mom told Aunt Diane, who passed it along to me during one of her update calls. We never expected to be raising small children again at our age. That's what happens when you enable someone their whole life, I said without sympathy, my voice flat. Brooklyn never learned to be independent, never learned to handle consequences, never learned to solve her own problems. She always had Mom and Dad to fix everything. Now they're stuck with the results of their parenting choices. I heard through relatives that they kept asking about me, wondering if I'd come help with the girls, suggesting it would be good for me to know my nieces, like I owed them something. I never responded to any of it. 2 years after my wedding, I got pregnant. Jason and I were absolutely thrilled, crying happy tears when we saw those 2 pink lines on the test. We told his family immediately, our friends, people we actually cared about and who cared about us. We didn't tell my parents. They weren't part of our lives anymore. They found out through Facebook when I posted a pregnancy announcement at 20 weeks, a photo of tiny baby shoes and a sonogram picture. Mom called from a number I didn't have blocked. I answered by accident while driving, my mistake. You're pregnant and you didn't tell us? Why would I tell you? We don't have a relationship. We're your parents. This is our grandchild. No, this is my child. You already have grandchildren. Focus on them. Can't we move past this? Life is too short for grudges, Savannah. This isn't a grudge. This is me protecting my child from people who would ignore them the same way they ignored me their entire childhood. We never ignored you. You scheduled a baby shower on my wedding day. You've ignored me my entire life. My child doesn't need grandparents who play favorites and make one kid feel worthless. I hung up, changed my number that same day, cut off that final thread. They sent letters to my house, long, desperate letters. I threw them away without opening them, didn't even glance at the handwriting. My daughter Mackenzie was born healthy and perfect, with Jason's green eyes and my smile. Carol and Thomas were at the hospital, helped us bring her home, were constant loving presences in her life from day one. That's what real grandparents look like. People who show up, who care, who make you feel valued and loved and important. When Mackenzie was 6 months old, Dad had a heart attack. Not fatal, but serious enough to require surgery. He survived but needed lifestyle changes, medication, major stress reduction that his current life couldn't possibly provide. Mom called Monica, begging her to convince me to visit. He needs to see his daughter, meet his granddaughter. This health scare has made him realize what's important. I didn't go. I sent flowers to Beaumont Hospital with a generic "hope you recover soon" note. That was it. That was all they got from me. You're really not going to see him? Monica asked carefully, not judging but clearly concerned. Even after a heart attack? He had 30 years to realize I was important. A heart attack doesn't erase decades of neglect and favoritism. Some people thought I was heartless. I thought I was protecting my peace and my daughter's well-being from people who would damage it without even realizing they were doing it. Dad recovered but had to keep working 5 years longer than planned because of supporting Brooklyn financially. They sold their house, downsized to a small condo because they depleted their retirement savings. Brooklyn eventually got her own apartment with government assistance, but the girls spent most of their time with my parents because she couldn't handle being a single mom to 2 young kids. Meanwhile, my life was beautiful. Mackenzie was smart and funny and so deeply loved. Jason and I had a second child, a son named Austin. We had family game nights, vacations to Disney World that made my kids' eyes light up, traditions that made our house feel like a real home. My kids knew their grandparents Carol and Thomas intimately. They spent every holiday with people who adored them, who showed up for soccer games and dance recitals and school plays without being asked. When Mackenzie was 5, she asked innocently, "How come I only have one grandma and grandpa? Emily at school has 4. Some people have more, some have less," I explained carefully, choosing my words. What matters is being surrounded by people who love you unconditionally. I have lots of people who love me, she said confidently, and my heart swelled with pride and relief. Yes, baby, you absolutely do. 5 years after my elopement, my parents sent a final letter, a long, detailed one actually taking responsibility for their favoritism, acknowledging specific ways they'd failed me, begging for a chance to be in their grandchildren's lives. I read it this time sitting at my kitchen table while the kids napped. It was better than previous attempts, more self-aware, using words like wrong and failed and deeply sorry. But it was also 5 years too late. 5 years during which they'd made no real sustained effort except occasional letters. 5 years during which I built a beautiful life without them. A life I wasn't willing to risk disrupting for people who'd proven they couldn't change. I wrote back once, short and simple: "I appreciate the apology, but the relationship is beyond repair. Please stop contacting me. I wish you well, but I don't want a relationship with you. Respect that boundary." They finally stopped trying after that. Or maybe they were just too tired to keep fighting. They were in their late 60s now, still helping raise Brooklyn's kids, exhausted and broke, facing a retirement nothing like what they'd planned or saved for. Brooklyn, last I heard through the grapevine, was on her 3rd failed relationship, still working retail at the mall, still depending on our parents for everything from rent money to childcare to emotional support. Sometimes I wonder if I should feel guilty about cutting them off so completely and permanently. Then I remember standing alone while they celebrated Brooklyn elsewhere. I remember every missed volleyball game, every forgotten achievement, every time I came second to my younger sister without explanation. I don't feel guilty anymore after that. My children will never know what it's like to be the second choice. They'll never wonder if their grandparents love them as much as their cousins. They'll never feel invisible in their own family. That's my victory, not revenge, not spite, just building something better than what I had. Jason asks occasionally if I think I'll ever reconcile with them. Maybe when they're older, when they really need you. They've needed me to be their daughter for 30 years. I needed them to be my parents. Neither of us got what we needed. That chapter is closed. Permanently. No regrets. No looking back. Only forward. Last month, I got promoted to VP of Creative at Morrison Creative Group, youngest person to make VP in the company's 40-year history. Carol and Thomas threw me a celebration dinner at their beautiful house. My kids made cards with crayons and glitter. Jason gave a toast about how proud he was, his voice cracking with genuine emotion that made me cry happy tears. My parents don't know about any of it. Don't know about the promotion. Don't know about Austin's first day of kindergarten. Don't know about Mackenzie's dance recital where she performed a solo that brought the audience to their feet. They're strangers who happen to share some DNA with me. That's all they ever really were. So here's my question for you: if your parents scheduled a major family event on your wedding day and absolutely refused to change it, Would you move your wedding to accommodate them? Or would you do something drastic like eloping to prove a point and protect your peace? Because I chose myself, and I'd make the same choice again in a heartbeat.